and you actually have this quote, our political culture is both infecting the culture of our churches and making it more difficult to see the ways of our faith can help us reject and renew our toxic politics. The very antidote our faith provides is made anathema because it threatens what we really actually trust. All right, you have to explain that.
We actually don't think that the way of Jesus holds up in politics and public life. And so for all of the high-minded doctrinal sort of statements, having a high view of this or that, the real challenge is the way of Jesus fit for the moment of crisis, for the moment when the pressure is on, not when you're in the classroom answering a series of doctrinal statements and nodding your head yes. Who are you in the thick of the moment? I tell a story. There's a Barna did this two-part question. The first part is on a question that's been debated for literally millennia among Christians, and in this sort of ignore the answer. Like the answer to this doesn't matter in this context. But the question is essentially, would you use violence to protect your property or your family in the face of like an assailant? And something like 75% of Christian adults answered, yes, I would, to that question. And that's fine. Again, we could debate pacifism and nonviolence and all that sort of thing. The second question, the follow-up question, was essentially, do you think Jesus would agree with your previous answer? Do you think Jesus would agree with your approach? And the numbers essentially flip. So only about 25% would say that Jesus would agree with what I just said. And so, right, like who, at that point, if you're a pastor, like who cares about the theological, again, I'm speaking somewhat facetiously, but who cares about the doctrinal theological assessment? The real crux of the issue there is that you have Christians who are consciously saying, if I was in this situation, what Jesus would have me do is not the thing that is fit for me to do. What Jesus's way is not the best way for me. What Jesus would say about this, that's a detached sort of like ethereal thing, but I have to live this life unlike Jesus, right? Like, I mean, so you get all kinds of questions about incarnation, all kinds. We run into that in politics all of the time. If we are willing to say in politics, Jesus's way is not fit, or I am deliberately, consciously moving away from the way of Jesus because I think I need something else in politics. The crux of the book is arguing that logic does not stay quarantined to your political self. That becomes a discipleship question. That becomes a formation question. The person who is willing to say that in politics, Jesus's way is not up to the task. I have come to learn and believe that in almost every case, I might offer vaguely for some exception, if you are willing to operate on that logic in politics, there are other areas of your life in which you're operating on that logic. You might be a business owner who at the end of the year is looking at your accounting books and going, I don't think this is going to work unless I move some numbers around. And everyone else in my field, they do it too. So I'm not really acting worse than anybody else. And actually, I employ a lot of people. Like my business is actually like a public good. And imagine all the people that would be hurt if my business went under. And next year I'll make sure that I don't end up in this place. But really, honestly, it's for the kingdom that I need to move these numbers around. And you just get into this And so that is the argument of the book, is that our political life is not quarantined off from the life that we're living with Jesus. And unless we as Christians, and unless the church is able to position politics as within and under the gospel, as opposed to above and superior to it, or outside and irrelevant to it, then that is not just going to result in negative consequences for our politics and our public life, though I think that is happening. It is a death knell to discipleship. It's a death knell to formation into Christ likeness.